Plagiarism seems to be plaguing all walks of life, whether it is academic or in the world of indie publishing or even traditional publishing. In fact, those last two avenues are what we're going to be focusing on the most, because even issues and problems. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that in today's video, so make sure that you stay tuned. This is Self-Publishing with Dale, and if you want to learn how to publish books that sell and build an unstoppable author brand, make sure that you subscribe and hit that little bell notification icon on so you don't miss a single video. Today's video is exclusively sponsored by Findaway Voices. If you have an audiobook or want to produce audiobooks, then you should consider Findaway Voices. With the Findaway Voices network, reach over 30 platforms including Audible, Apple, Google, and more. The big news? Voices Share. This new program from Findaway Voices allows you to produce an audiobook for half the price in exchange for sharing 20% of your royalties with the narrator. When starting a new project, you'll see the Voices Share option and application form, review narrators, see cost estimates, and hear some voices for your project for free. Sign up today and give it a try at findawayvoices.com/Dale. I'm always really happy to kind of share a little bit about Findaway Voices, and I'm going to tell you that though they are the sponsors of the channel, I am currently using them and starting to transition some things over. I have had some behind the scenes peeks of Findaway over from Cleveland, Ohio this past week. And I'm going to be also sharing some behind the dashboard footage of me actually switching from exclusive to non-exclusive on ACX so I can get over to Findaway Voices. So stay tuned to this channel. I will be releasing those in the very near future. So let's just transition right over to a very serious subject when it comes to plagiarism, how to avoid it. And I want to reveal some of the biggest scams when it comes to this whole writing thing, because look, folks, I don't take this too lightly. You know, when you steal someone's property, when you thieve from them, I don't like or trust you. And this is some area that honestly I've never been one to kind of go, oh, well, that might be okay. I had some issues back in my early days to where I didn't know right from wrong, but when I heard that people were plagiarizing for profit, I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm a writer, and I think that that's just wrong. And I'm sure that many people can kind of agree with me. So the problem that we have right now is there's a lot of plagiarism going on, and it's far more than we would like to admit. And we try to rely solely on Amazon to vet out those type of things. We might say, for instance, hope that Amazon will catch somebody stealing our stuff. But the fact of the matter is there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of books published on the platform daily. So for us to saddle that entire burden on them is probably unrealistic, at least at this point, especially since they're growing so massively and so quick. But what exactly is plagiarism anyways? It's essentially just taking someone else's work and then you're just claiming it as your own. And again, that's just wrong. It's thievery. It might not seem, it seems innocent enough to those people, but why exactly would somebody plagiarize? Because let's face it, we can sit here and go, oh, they're all scammers. Anybody that plagiarizes content are scammers. But the fact of the matter is there's actually a few different camps. There's some people that don't realize that, or maybe they have not been educated properly in the ethical standpoint of stealing somebody's work. Then you have the other camp that, of course, is the scammers. And then you have the ones that are kind of in between, to where they're not properly citing the sources. So in some of the nonfiction works, I always tell people, if you're going to quote anybody, make sure that you keep it as succinct as possible. And you're going to fully quote it and give direct source citations with inside your book. So that way you aren't stealing from them. In most instances, it almost makes better sense for you to paraphrase and then cite the source. That way you're not setting off any kind of alarms when you're publishing to various platforms. So that's kind of a little bit of a safeguard. I'm going to go through a couple safeguards as we kind of go along. But for the most part, I'm going to show you 4 very unique little plagiarism scandals. And I promise you, The last one I'm going to share is going to send your eyebrows, and you're going to find this unbelievable. And I got a big shout out to one of my clients, and I promise to kind of keep their identity, secret here at this point. So big shout out, because this final one was something that this person showed to me, and it blew me away. In fact, when we get to that point number 4, I want you to drop a hashtag new to me if you find that it's new. So let's start it out with the very first form of plagiarism, the lazy way, aka copy and paste. And you're going to see a lot of people that are doing the whole copy and paste type thing, and it's just like, oh my gosh. It's if you're going to be a scammer, try to do one of the other methodologies. But copying and pasting essentially is a great way to get yourself detected by Amazon and such. They're getting really, really good. Are they perfect? Not by any stretch, but they're getting better. And from what they say, they are using the automated systems as well as actual human investigators that are going in and researching these things. So copying and pasting is just the old school way of plagiarism. And the safeguards you can put in place for something like this would be any kind of plagiarism scanner. Now, you've heard me talk about Grammarly. I love Grammarly. Grammarly's fantastic. They're not going to grab every last bit of plagiarism. Yeah, they're getting millions upon millions of sites, but most of the time it's just websites. So if something's published, say through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, but not anywhere else, Grammarly's not going to be able to detect that. So that's why it's a good safeguard on website-based material. But beyond that, there's other different online checkers you can look into. And last but not least, I've said before, Amazon vets out these things. I'm just going to kind of just put a pin in that. We can come back around to it, or you guys can just know that there is just that tenuous grasp on a vetting system that Amazon has currently. Last but not least, and I think this is going to go across the board, if you want to really protect yourself, file a copyright on your work. I don't often say this because it does become costly after a while. It runs about $50 for a publication if you go through copyright.org, I think is the actual site, but it at least safeguards you. Now, in the event that you find somebody stealing your intellectual property, then it's going to be up to you to press charges, to actually take them to court. Now, that's going to be the next thing is, can you afford to take people to court? Are you going to be able to have deep enough pockets or find the right lawyer to pull litigation on these people that are stealing your work? All right, so just always think about that when it comes to copyright. So plagiarism number 2. This is one where they're just kind of like, oh, we're going to work around the system. It's called spinning. Now, not to be confused for something that you do at your local fitness club or your gym. It's not that type of spinning. Spinning is where you take a specific type of content and you put it into some type of software online or some black market type software, and it will go through and it will change out verbs, it'll change out nouns, it'll change out things to where it's kind of the same message, but it changes it enough so that way it's not being detected by any kind of plagiarism scanners. And this was actually something that had burned me. And by the way, people can literally just do spinning on their own. They can just go grab the work, bust a DRM on something, the digital rights management, and download it and just change out the name of characters, change out a few verbs here and there, and then voila, they've spun the content. This is one of the things that had affected me. In fact, I left a link down in the description down below to where I talked about how plagiarism nearly sunk my business. It was within my first year of being in business that I had discovered plagiarism, and they were doing spinning. They were taking content that they were finding on fan fiction websites and changing out characters and character names. They got real sloppy about it, and I was able to find where Grammarly actually pulled that off there. And I'm like, what's this? And I remember that this particular writer was like, you caught me. And I was like, you're darn straight I caught you. So moving on. Spinning makes sense, right? Next one. This is interesting. Now this is actually going to include a whole backstory on this because it just happened this year. This has actually been around for a while. It's called Mosaic plagiarism. And this is actually a term comes from academia, any kind of academic terms of college and school and such. And the whole thing with Mosaic is where, for instance, as I was mentioning, grabbing and using something without citing the source was one of the ways, but the other way is you just essentially, you Frankenstein things together. You kind of mix and match until you make something that's pretty much decipherable and people can kind of read it. It's also known as multi-plagiarism, or as I will call it, Frankensteining. I found out Mosaic is the technical term. My brother actually pointed that out. Big shout out to my boy. So in any event, I wanted to kind of share just a little bit about the backstory on this. This was around February time. If you ever are a freelance writer, okay, or you're a ghostwriter, pay closest attention. And if you're hiring out freelance writers for your small publishing house, or as your ghostwriter, you need to really, really be mindful of the content that you're going to publish and be very, very careful. Because in this instance, back in February, romance writer, she's a Brazilian self-publishing romance writer. In this instance, she is a self-publisher because we come to find out she was using ghostwriters, so she's technically not even a writer. Her name is Christiane Saruya. And what was found out was she's a romance writer. Well, the readers stumbled on some questionable content, that they were finding small passages from other books they'd already read. You see, you could try to fool the self-publisher, but you will not fool the avid readers. And the avid readers pulled out, and they were even able to get the individual authors and find out who they were stealing from, and then they reported this thing. Because there's this neat little thing on Amazon. You scroll at the very bottom, report abuse. And when you're dealing with romance readers, they are voracious. They are very hungry, and when they feel like they've been wronged, oh, you better look out. You better look out. These are very passionate and very emotionally driven people. So they found this out. Oh my word. And all you got to do is go over to Twitter, type up hashtag copy paste Chris. That's CRIS. And when you find out, you're going to find just a ton of posts. And I found this out through Susan Tisdale, and I followed her. She actually has a YouTube channel. I put a link to her response to the whole copy paste Chris thing. Whew, my rants have nothing on hers. She was lit back in February about this. And essentially what Chris came out and said, or Christiane came out and said, was she hired writers on Fiverr. Okay, first of all, I like Fiverr. I don't hire any writers, or I've never hired writers on Fiverr, because I just honestly go to where freelance writers, reputable ones, are going to show. And more importantly, I try to go find referrals more than anything, because that means that they're fully vetted and they're trusted and they have at least a portfolio that I can check and make sure that they're not plagiarizing things. So in any event, this author came out and just said, oh, it was my ghostwriters. That's what that was it. And then the ghostwriters were like, no, you're not going to throw us under the bus. They pretty much came out and said publicly, hey, we did this work for her, and she specifically told us to do this. And it was Frankensteining bits out of other romance books and just squishing them together, and hooray, I've got a book. She became a USA best-selling author. Now, folks, you have to be selling literally thousands upon thousands in a given day to even break into the USA Today bestsellers list. So this person tricked their way into there. Now, I don't know if she tricked or she did inadvertently get into this, but nonetheless, it's on her that the plagiarism happened, because it is on her business. And so really, you have to do your due diligence. And she could blame those ghostwriters all she wants, but at the end of the day, she tricked they tricked her, then she in turn tricked the audience into buying those type of things, and now she's caught. And Nora Roberts, a world-renowned romance writer, found out about this, and some of her work was plagiarized. Now here's the issue. She had this happen back in the 90s, and it literally traumatized her. And you can go look up the Nora Roberts article about this, but nonetheless, what ended up happening is this brought back old memories, and she tried to reach out to this Christiane Cirurio, to no avail. So she said, you know what? I got the deep back pockets here. I'm going to come after you in Brazil. And yeah, she is a writer in the United States and brought up litigation down in Brazil against this author. And that just kind of goes to show you, if you're thinking about trying to screw around with the system, Nora Roberts has got our back here. And here's the funny thing is, she doesn't need the money. She even said, as soon as this all settles and I'm all done, she's going to end up donating all of the money that she gets from this lawsuit to literacy programs in Brazil. She did the same thing back in the 90s when she had this lawsuit brought up and it was settled out of court. She took all of that and put it into literacy programs. So big kudos to Nora Roberts for that one. By the way, no relation to me. No relation to me. Alrighty, so there is one more scam. I've got one more, and I told you I was going to save the best one for last. And this one is going to singe your eyebrows. But I just got to get a couple little plugs in here because remember, every Saturday from now on at 12 p.m. Eastern Daytime, that's Universal Time Coordinated -4, we're going to be going live on YouTube. And we've got one more week of a podcast on this coming Saturday on twitch.tv/self-publish. And we're recording those podcasts on Twitch, but Twitch is going to be moving here very soon. In fact, actually starting Monday, September the 16th, every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Daytime, we'll be on twitch.tv/self-publish where we record the podcasts that you hear through various platforms like Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google, Apple Podcasts, so on and so forth. So you get to hear all that a week in advance. So we're just going to have about 2 more podcast recordings. That'll be this coming Saturday and then on my birthday on Monday. And then after that, it's going to be on Mondays from that point on. You want to make sure you follow Self-Publish over on twitch.tv. And please subscribe to the channel for free with your Amazon Prime membership. In fact, actually, I've done a little bit of work here for you ahead of time. If you go to dalelinks.com/twitch 101. Again, that's dalelinks.com/Twitch 101. And actually show you. You're going to learn how to navigate and use Twitch. You're going to show how to set up an account, how to get bits and what those mean, how you can subscribe with your Amazon Prime, so much more inside this short video series. You can actually get the chance to meet my brother and learn a little bit more about Twitch and why you want to go over to Twitch, because it's a fantastic platform. All right, with all of that promotion out of the way, plagiarism scam number 4. This one's interesting. You're going to probably read this and it says hidden in plain sight. Okay, what gives? Isn't it kind of hidden in plain sight anyways? No, usually with most plagiarism, you can run them through plagiarism checkers and it finds something. This, you can't. And if this is new to you, put hashtag new to me. I'd very much appreciate that. If this is new to you. If it's not new to you, you'd be like, yeah, I've heard about this before. Totally cool. But it was brand new to me. So here's what happened. I had a client of mine that had hired a ghostwriter for a gig. Got the work back. It was okay. It was passable work. And this person went through and put it through a plagiarism detector, through Grammarly more specifically. And nothing was coming up except words were being flagged as being misspelled despite not being misspelled. It was like, what? I don't understand this. He identified spelling errors, and this is where it kind of gets really confusing because he was like, what do I do here? Like, I don't understand. So he takes the document and then he transfers it to a text file, .txt, which you can do that simply through hitting save as, a text over in your Microsoft Word, or you can even, I believe you can do it over on Pages as well as on Google Docs. But you're going to want to make sure you switch it to text file. And this is where the proverbial horse manure hits the fans, because red letters started popping up everywhere. Pop, 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 all over the document. And then there was just a bunch of issues. And each one of these red letters represented symbols or alternative text. So to make it kind of simple, what was happening is they were taking this plagiarized work and then they were painstakingly going through, and I don't know if they did it with software or if they just went in one letter at a time, but they were switching it out to different languages and their letter representations and symbols. That way, when it was put into a plagiarism detector, everything looked good, right? Wrong. This thing was littered. Everything was plagiarized, all of it. Because once you switch out those symbols to regular letters in the English alphabet, that's when we had some real issues. So this is the stuff that's hidden in plain sight. I recommend that make this part of your workflow. If you ever hire out any freelance writers, maybe for your blog or your website, somebody's doing a guest blog post of some sort for you, maybe you're even having a ghostwritten brand of some sort, make this part of your process. You can go through, use Grammarly if you want to. You can head over to dalelinks.com/Grammarly if you want to get an account set up for free. Plagiarism comes at the premium level. Highly recommend it. Love Grammarly. But even if you don't use that, find some type of a plagiarism scanner. But probably prior to doing that, take that document, switch it to text, make sure that nothing starts to set off any kind of bells and whistles, that you don't have a bunch of red letters littered all the way across. So that is one that just blew me away. And I was going to share a screenshot from within the Facebook group community, but we're going to keep that inside the Facebook group community. If you want to join us, by the way, head over to Self-Publishing Books on Facebook.com. You can head to Facebook.com/groups/self-publishing-books. It's kind of a pixelated picture. Otherwise, I was going to share it in today's broadcast, but I'm like, you know what? You understand. I think everybody gets the idea. Much for tuning in, everybody. And while we're at it here, those of you folks that are watching this on the replay, probably saying, Dale, you're going to probably send me over to another video. And of course I will. I'm going to tell you about my personal experience when it comes to plagiarism and how it almost destroyed my business. And you're going to get all the dirty details. It's embarrassing. Instead of telling you more, come on down. I'll see you there.